Assalamu alaikum, friends. Today, together with you, we will go to one of the most beautiful places in the Chechen Republic, the mountain village of Sharoy. This place is interesting, not only for its history and picturesque views around, but also for the atmosphere that reigns there. On the way to Sharoy, you can stop by an interesting place and try a real local specialty. This place is called the Sharoy Bread Factory. It's the most famous bread in the Chechen Republic. Let's try real delicious mountain bread. This is just... Guys, you can't imagine how delicious this is. It only costs 25 rubles. The road to Sharoy itself deserves special attention. There are many picturesque spots along the way. We're already getting close to the Sharoy district. Here by the road, there are two mosques where you can stop and pray, and there's also a very tasty spring here. Now we'll try some water there. Look some more. Pay attention to how excellent the asphalt is here. This means you can get to Sharoy in any car. See how beautiful it is here. The water flows right down the slope. Everything here is already covered with moss, and the purest mountain water passes through it. There is another spring like this here, but it isn't equipped like the previous one. But it also looks very beautiful. The road we're traveling on runs along the gorge, and down below flows the Sharoy River. It's so beautiful here. Just look at these views. Now we're already getting closer to Sharoy. And here the winter is getting snowier and snowier. There are more trees on the slopes. Friends, we've finally reached Sharoy. This isn't just a beautiful mountain village, it's a place with a rich history, famous for its medieval residential and defensive towers built hundreds of years ago. Now we're going to visit the main tourist attraction in this area. This is the Sharoy Tower complex, which was completely reconstructed on the old foundation that remained here after the fighting. In this room, there are old items collected from the surrounding area. The room isn't really furnished, but here you can see items of old household utensils. This place is basically a museum now. Here you can see how things used to be arranged here in the past. You can climb the tower and visit the residential tower, see how everything was set up there. I just met my friend who lives in this village. His name is Ahmad, and he will give us a short tour of the village and tell us a bit about it and how people live here.
As you can see, these doors in the towers are small and low, so you have to bend down to go through them. These doors were made so small for protection purposes. When there were military actions, it was harder to break in or enter, so the enemy couldn't get in quickly.
This is how a dwelling used to look. It was one big room that served as a dining area, a sleeping area, and had a stove. Here it is. We'll show it to you now. They just made a partition with a curtain and lived in this big room. The whole family lived there. I want to show you an interesting children's device. This is a wooden rocker. In Chechen, it's called aga. I've always found it interesting. Do other peoples have something similar? If so, write about it in the comments. When a child is little, when they're just a baby, they're placed here, secured in such a way that they lie straight and still, and then they're rocked like this, and they fall asleep. And also, in childhood, I remember it was often said that this is good for the baby when they sleep in this straightened, motionless position. I don't know how true that is.
People used to live in this fortress. The main population was here. When the population grew larger, they would move out to the farms, some in one direction, some in another. But this tower, it's very ancient. The first tower is at least 800 years old. The others were almost completely destroyed, but this tower still stands to this day. Well, this tower is a defensive tower. This fortress was completely surrounded by a wall. There were also walls around this tower. Inside they had, from the very top of the mountain, they brought water down here. There was water here and everything they needed. These roads are similar to the previous ones, but wider. In the past they were narrower, because it was densely populated, this fortress. We don't know exactly how many people lived in this fortress, but the elders say that before the resettlement there were about 1,000 families in this village. This, as they say in Chechen, is Tsazar Kurkila. It means that smoke was rising from 1,000 houses.
And how many people live here now?
Now there are about 30 to 35 houses here. That's how many families are left now. There was also a mosque in this fortress back then. This is the mosque, which was restored after the war during the recent restoration process.
In the same place, right?
Yes, in the same place where it was. That's where they restored it.
Now we will go up to one of the towers with you, which served as a watchtower. Let's see what an incredible view opens up from it. This area around. Here we are, we've made it to the top. Here you get a view in all four directions, and to be honest, it's really windy. There was a patrol here. They could easily spot an enemy approaching the fortress. Because from here, you can clearly see everything for many kilometers ahead.
See over there in the distance that cluster of stones. Do you see the glint? Those are stones. When they used to plow the gardens, whenever a stone would come up to the surface, they would collect that stone, collect it, and over the years, such huge stones would accumulate and form a massive pile over there.
You said that about 30 families live here in the village. What do people mainly do here?
Well, like everywhere else, some people work. There's the administration, the school, and some people run their own farms, keep livestock. They deal with feed, dried meat, things like that. They work in agriculture. It's the winter season now, so some people will have dried meat, good mountain meat.
And do people here have gardens? Do they grow anything?
Before, you see all these empty places where there are slopes. All these places used to be sown. Corn, potatoes, all that, and now just a little at home, not as much as before.
For personal use, right?
Yes, for personal use now people keep gardens, but mainly just what a person needs. Mostly here people grow potatoes, cabbage, carrots, and beets. That's what you have for yourself. You practically don't need to buy anything.
Meat and dairy products too, right?
Yes, meat, sour cream, cheese, clarified butter, all our own. Quite a long time outside. It's chilly. We'll go inside now. Hot tea, food. And the warmth is special from the firewood. Warmth.
Chechen national cuisine deserves special attention. Today for lunch we have sauce and galnash. I haven't tried these yet. We dip it in garlic sauce. This is local turkey meat. They say it's called turkey meat, right? What's your favorite Chechen dish? This is the first time I'm eating this kind of gelnash. We found out that in Russian it's called airy dumpling. It's steamed. There's something similar in Dagestani cuisine, but I think there they boil it in water, while this one is steamed. It's very tasty, especially with homemade turkey.
Chechen cuisine is delicious.
Yes, actually, there aren't that many dishes in Chechen cuisine, but they're all very hearty and tasty.
Homemade ice cream. There's ice cream over there.
And there's ice cream too.
Lingonberry ice cream, the healthiest one.
Friends, this is mashed mountain lingonberry, which they picked right here on their own slopes, right? We have an episode that we filmed exactly 4 years ago. Ahmad and I went together picking blueberries and lingonberries. If you're interested, check it out.
I just turned 35 this October.
You've lived here your whole life, right?
Yes, mostly. I moved around a bit for my studies and traveled some for school, but otherwise I've mainly been here.
Have you ever wanted to move somewhere else? Maybe you're planning something for the future, to live somewhere else, or are you planning to stay here and you like it here?
I don't have any desire to move right now. I want to stay here. As they say, where your homeland is, the hearth never goes out. There are already few people here. Those who leave, leave. If everyone leaves, this village will become like an abandoned one, and it will be rare for anyone to come here. That's why, even though it's hard and people live with difficulty, those who have stayed here, it's still mostly beautiful here.
Yes, friends, you can't argue with that. The views around here are simply mesmerizing. It's just that right now there's a bit of fog that has settled and we've lost sight of some of our landscapes. But if I may put it this way, just listen to this silence that surrounds us here. The silence, the tranquility. There's a special atmosphere here. It's pure pleasure to come here, to be here. I strongly recommend that all of you visit Sharoy if you haven't done so yet.
Down there, about 1.5 kilometers away, is the Argun River. Despite the river being 0.93 miles away, it can sometimes be heard due to the quietness here, allowing the sound of its flow to reach you. That's it. It's almost evening already and it's time to put on my work clothes.
What are you going to do?
Now I need to chop some wood for the evening, feed the livestock, give some hay to the one that stayed at home, and give them a little water.
You don't have gas here, right?
There's no gas. They haven't brought it here yet. They've brought it to the district, but not to the village yet, so for now we heat with firewood. Usually we chop firewood and store it somewhere under a shelter so it stays dry. Since the firewood was just delivered recently, we're chopping it little by little for now. And so that we have some to chop in the winter too, we sometimes leave some and don't chop it all at once. Because if equipment sits unused for a long time, it rusts, just like a person. If there isn't much work in the winter, that's why we leave some firewood for the winter, so there is at least some work to do.
Will this pile be enough for the whole winter?
There is more.
Is there more?
But usually it depends on the person. For some, 1 kamaz is enough. For others, they need 2 kamaz trucks. Don't ever repeat this.
What?
Hold it with your hand and chop with the axe. You might end up without fingers.
The weather has changed a lot out there. You see how big the snowflakes are falling, and everything is covered in fog. It's become even more atmospheric than it was before. Do you have a lot of livestock, Ahmad?
Well, about 20 or so, something like that. It's just a small group separated to be fattened up for the winter. The suckling calves were separated, so they're kept at home, while the rest are already out grazing now. They should come back in the evening.
And now under the snow, what do they find to eat?
Well, I gave them some hay. And you can't water all of them by hand, so they go to the watering place themselves, then come back in the evening and we let them out. If there's no snow, they graze. If there's snow, they drink the water and come home. We just recently finished bringing the hay home too. We start mowing in August. Sometimes we finish quickly. If the rains start in the fall, we have to work until late autumn. And this year we also just recently brought in the hay. When there's snow for the livestock too, if you keep them, you have to give them food. We're waiting for the livestock now. We're watching to see where they'll come from. They're out grazing.
Where's the watering place?
Over there, do you see the trough standing? They go there from here on their own. Whatever they find, they eat. And in the evening, when they come back, we give them hay.
That's how it is, friends. There are open spaces here.
The cows reside in a scenic location with a view of the tower.
People in Sharoy continue to live just as their ancestors once did. They raise livestock, farm the land, and try to preserve Chechen traditions. And actually, this is a very unique place. I love coming here. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen as often as I would like. And during a visit here, especially if you came from a noisy city, you really feel this harmony with nature, the silence that's here, the peace. This is actually very valuable in our time. So come here to see everything with your own eyes. That's all from me, friends. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Share your impressions in the comments. And I'll see you in the next episode.